Georgia is a state filled with history, some of it beautiful, some of it dark, and some of it still lingering. Beneath its grand mansions and historic landmarks, in the shadows of its battlefields and quiet cemeteries, something remains. Unfinished stories, unseen presences, voices that whisper through the halls of time. People say ghosts are just echoes of the past, but in Georgia the past is very much alive. The sorrel weed house Savannah's darkest secret. In the heart of Savannah, where cobblestone streets glow under flickering gas lamps, stands one of the most haunted homes in America. The sorrel weed house is a stunning piece of architecture, a grand mansion that has withstood the test of time. But for all its beauty, it holds a horrifying past. Built in the early 1800s, the house belonged to Francis Sorrel, a wealthy merchant who was respected in public, but a man of secrets behind closed doors. The most chilling story is that of Molly, a young enslaved woman who was said to be Francis Sorrel's mistress. When his wife, Matilda, discovered the affair, the truth shattered her. Overcome with heartbreak, she threw herself from the balcony, crashing to her death on the stone courtyard below. Days later, Molly was found hanging in the carriage house. Some say she took her own life. Others, they believe something or someone forced her. Now the mansion is no longer a home. It's a museum, a place where the past refuses to be forgotten. Visitors have seen shadowy figures moving past the windows when the house is empty. Others have heard the anguished screams of a woman echoing through the halls. Some claim they've even felt unseen hands brush against their skin as they walk the staircase. The most disturbing part? In the carriage house where Molly was found, many report a crushing sense of dread, a feeling that someone is watching, waiting. Those who have entered and stayed too long have been overcome with nausea, dizziness, and an unexplainable fear. One visitor, after stepping inside, ran out within seconds shaking, saying, "There's something in there, something that doesn't want us here." Even in the city of Savannah, where ghost stories are a way of life, the sorrel weed house stands alone. Would you dare step inside? The Moon River Brewing Company, where spirits never left. Savannah is one of the most haunted cities in the world, a place where ghosts walk freely and history breathes through every street. And there is no place where this is more evident than the Moon River Brewing Company. Before it became a brewery, this building was the City Hotel, a once luxurious inn that hosted politicians, socialites, and travelers. But beneath its elegant exterior, violence and tragedy lurked. During the yellow fever epidemic of the 1800s, the upper floors of the hotel were used as a makeshift hospital. The sick were carried upstairs, but few ever came back down. Even in death, many never left. Visitors and employees alike have seen figures darting through the hallways, doors slamming shut on their own, and unseen hands brushing against them in the darkness. But the most chilling spirit is one known simply as Toby. Toby is said to haunt the basement, a place so terrifying that even the bravest ghost hunters refuse to go alone. Many who enter report feeling something breathing down their neck. Some claim to have felt hands pushing them, so hard that they stumbled forward, and a few have even seen a shadow standing in the far corner, watching, waiting. Late at night, long after the brewery has closed, the sound of heavy boots can be heard walking across the empty floor above. Some say it's Toby, others believe it's the spirits of those who never left the hotel. Would you dare go downstairs and meet Toby face to face? The Ellis Hotel, the fire that left spirits behind. In the heart of Atlanta, there's a hotel that holds more than just guests. It holds the memories of those who never checked out. Before it was known as the Ellis Hotel, it was the Winecoff Hotel, a luxury escape that promised comfort, elegance, and safety. But on December 7th, 1946, safety became an illusion. A fire broke out in the middle of the night, engulfing the building in flames. There were no fire escapes, no sprinklers, no alarms. By morning, 119 people had died, some from the fire, others from leaping from the upper floors, choosing the fall over the flames. Now, decades later, the building stands once again, renovated, restored, but never forgotten. Guests at the Ellis Hotel report hearing desperate screams in the middle of the night. The sound of running footsteps echoes down the hallways, but when they look, there's no one there. A woman once woke up to find her bed soaked in water. Confused, she checked the ceiling, the windows. Everything was dry. Then she remembered the stories. The water that firefighters used to douse the flames. The same water that never truly left. The most terrifying encounter. A hotel staff member closing down for the night caught a glimpse of a man standing by the window on the upper floor, looking down at the street below. He called out to him, but the man didn't respond. When he moved closer, the figure stepped forward, then disappeared. The fire may have been put out long ago, but some spirits are still searching for a way out. Would you spend the night at the Ellis Hotel?
Georgia is a state built on history, war, and secrets. Its lands have seen the rise and fall of empires, the echoes of battle, and the sorrow of those who never left. The Kehoe House, a beautiful mansion with a dark past. Savannah is a city of elegance, but even the most beautiful places hold secrets. Standing proudly on Columbia Square, the Kehoe House looks like something out of a dream. A stunning, historic mansion once home to the wealthy Kehoe family. But for all its charm, the house holds something more than just memories. It holds whispers from the past. In the late 1800s, William Kehoe built this home for his wife and their 10 children. But tragedy struck when 2 of the children vanished inside the house. Some say they were playing near an open fireplace and met a gruesome fate. Others believe they were accidentally locked inside a trunk, never to be found until it was too late. What is known for certain is that their spirits never left. Guests who stay in the Kehoe House, now a luxury inn, report hearing children laughing in the middle of the night. Footsteps echo through the hallways, even when no one is there. Some have even claimed that while lying in bed, they felt small hands gently touch their face. One visitor woke up to the sound of soft giggles right beside her ear. When she opened her eyes, she was alone, but the covers on the other side of the bed were pulled back, as if someone had just gotten up. Would you stay in the Kehoe House, knowing you might not be sleeping alone? The Central State Hospital, the abandoned insane asylum. Hidden in Milledgeville, Georgia, sits what was once the largest mental hospital in the world. The Central State Hospital opened in the early 1800s, originally built to care for those who were mentally ill, but over time it became something much darker. Underfunded and overcrowded, the hospital became known for horrific treatments, electroshock therapy, ice baths, and even lobotomies performed on those deemed too difficult. Some patients simply disappeared, some were buried in unmarked graves, their names lost to history. Now the asylum stands abandoned, but it is far from empty. Ghost hunters who have entered the grounds claim to hear screams echoing from the empty hallways. Some have captured shadowy figures moving past broken windows, figures that vanish when approached. Many visitors report the feeling of being watched, followed, almost hunted. Some have left with unexplained bruises, scratches, or the overwhelming sense of dread that lingers long after they leave. Would you step inside the halls of Central State Hospital, knowing that not everyone who entered made it out? The Oxford College Ghost, the woman who never left. On the quiet campus of Oxford College, students walk the halls, attend classes, and go about their lives. But those who have been there long enough know that they are not alone. For decades, students have spoken of a woman in white, a shadowy figure that roams the dormitories at night. The legend dates back to the 1800s when a woman who worked at the college fell deeply in love with a professor. But their love was forbidden. When their affair was discovered, she was dismissed, left heartbroken and alone. Overcome with grief, she ended her life in the very building where she once worked, and now, she remains. Students have woken up to cold breath on their necks, the feeling of a presence standing over them. Some have seen a woman in a flowing dress passing through the halls, only to disappear through a locked door. One student studying late at night looked up to see the woman staring at her from across the library. When she blinked, she was gone. Oxford College has changed with time, but for some, time has never moved forward. Would you spend the night in a place where the past still walks? The Rhodes Hall in Atlanta is a breathtaking sight. A mansion unlike any other, carved from stone, standing proudly against the backdrop of modern skyscrapers. But beauty has never kept the darkness away. They call it the Castle of Atlanta, a relic of the early 1900s when Amos Rhodes built the mansion as a symbol of his success. But there are some things that money cannot protect you from. From the moment construction was completed, strange things were reported inside the home. Servants whispered of shadows moving along the grand staircase when no one else was inside. A maid once fled the mansion in the middle of the night, screaming that she had seen a woman standing in the mirror behind her, a woman who was not herself. The legend grew stronger after Mrs. Rhodes passed away inside the home. Some say her presence never left. Visitors have reported hearing the soft sounds of a woman crying near the bedroom door, even when no one is inside. Staff members locking up for the night have seen a figure in a long dress standing at the top of the stairs, watching silently, before fading into nothing. One security guard working alone in the dead of night swore he heard footsteps echoing through the halls. He called out, thinking someone had broken in. The only response was a soft, whispered voice, one that seemed to come from every direction at once. In the small town of Surrency, Georgia, there stands a house that no one dares to call home. The Surrency House is one of the most infamous paranormal cases in American history. Unlike most hauntings which are tied to tragedy, this one seemed to come from nowhere, and refused to stop. It started with objects moving on their own. Dishes flew from the cabinets, chairs scraped across the floor without anyone touching them, and mirrors shattered for no reason at all. Then came the voices. Low murmurs in the dead of night, whispers calling out names, laughter that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The family tried to ignore it, until the spirits became violent. One night, Mr. Surrency sat in his chair reading when he was lifted off the ground and thrown across the room. His children were dragged from their beds by unseen hands. Even guests who spent just one night in the home reported feeling watched, like something was just out of sight, waiting. Word spread fast. Paranormal investigators, priests, and even scientists came to witness the strange activity. No one could explain it. No one could stop it. Eventually, the family fled the house, abandoning it to whatever had claimed it. To this day, locals report strange lights flickering inside at night, even though the home has been empty for decades. Some who have stepped too close have heard a voice on the wind, calling them inside. No one who has answered the call has ever stayed long. Marietta, Georgia, is a town rich with Civil War history, where the past is never far behind. But at the Kennesaw House, the past is very much alive. During the war, this historic building was more than just an inn. It became a hospital and morgue for fallen soldiers. Hundreds of men took their last breaths within its walls, their names lost to time, but their spirits, they never left. Employees working late at night have seen soldiers in full uniform walking through the halls, only to disappear before their eyes. One night, a museum worker was closing up when he heard heavy footsteps coming toward him. He turned to see who was there, but no one was. Yet the footsteps kept coming. Would you stand still waiting to see who or what was coming for you? Some places are forgotten, some are abandoned, and some, no matter how much time passes, will always be waiting for someone new to step inside. The question is, will that